Date with a Debut is a Words and Nerds and Breathe Art podcast co-production, recorded on Awabakal Country, and I pay my respects to all elders past and present and extend that to any First Nations people tuning in. Always was, always will be, Aboriginal land. On with the show.
Max facing her brain surgery is something that I have lived experience with. I was keen to, draw on my experience, which was basically, as cliche as it sounds, the things that are important in life being drawn into sharp focus.
Hello, my name is Nick Wasiliev, former host of Tell Me What to Read, author of When Men Cry, and I'm here for a new mini-series hosting on Words and Nerds, shining a light on debut novelists and their journey to publication. So if you are looking for a new book to devour, this is the place to be. If you're looking for writing inspiration, this is the place to be. This is Date with a Debut, because nothing hits you like a first impression. And I couldn't be happier because this book, in line with this series, couldn't be more appropriate in terms of a date and learning and finding love. Because I'm joined this morning by Karina May, digital marketer, espresso martini drinker, and her book Duck à l'Orange for Breakfast is published by Macmillan, which at the time of us recording is only a few days from release. But for our audience, it will be out in the world for them to enjoy. Karina, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Nick. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, you're very welcome. And in typical date fashion, start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you came to start this writing journey.
So I think you said in the intro there, I'm a digital marketer now, but I actually studied communications at university. I went down, initially I wanted to get into newspapers, and I was sent on an internship to Bangkok when I was at uni, which was an interesting experience for my first newspaper experience working in a country, a non-English speaking country. So from that, I kind of got a shock of the newsroom and went into magazines. And then, about a decade ago, basically, the rise of the internet and unfortunates and doom and gloom in that landscape, I decided to skill up and work in digital marketing. And I think it was there where I was still writing copy, but just not the long form copy, where I started to get a bit of a creative itch for writing again. And I'd never even considered creative writing. I was always a big reader. And I think definitely a storyteller. I've now learned that was just always something. I love to entertain friends and family with tales, normally self-deprecating tales about myself with some extra exaggeration. So I signed up to a writing course at Australian Writers Centre, which was a 6-month write your novel course, and basically learnt how to structure a novel, which was very different from kind of the scratchings I had been doing to date, and got addicted.
Give us your 1-minute pitch for Duck à l'Orange.
Sure. Well, we were discussing before that I can't still pronounce my title, so I refer it to Duck. I do not speak French, so it's interesting that I created this book, but it is a comedy romance, so I think it's suitable for me to have a bit of fun with the title. And it follows Maxine Mayberry, or Max, who we meet at, the hardest time in her life. She has just found her long-term boyfriend in bed with another woman, and not good, and also diagnosed with a brain tumor. So it definitely has some serious themes. But I think with this book, I wanted to kind of tackle some serious things in a non-serious way and lightly. And I find when I'm going through tough times that it's humor that gets me through. So the story follows Max as she moves in with her best friend, Alice, who signs her up for Tinder as a distraction to kind of while away the weeks in the lead up to the surgery and also to get over her heartbreak. And she meets a Tinder pen pal who is cheeky and charmy Johnny. And together they start to cook through a recipe book of Max's ex-boyfriend's family, the Laurent family, who are like a pretentious French family. The project's called the For Kim Project, and it's like a deranged Julia and Julia exercise. The cookbook drop is done at an IKEA, and I think that's one of my kind of favorite parts. That brings in some of the rom-com elements of 500 Days of Summer and kind of those types of movies and texts that I've always enjoyed. And then finally, the story travels to Paris, because I don't think that we can, have a book about French food and French cooking and not go on a journey. So yeah, I think it's a fun read with some serious themes. And I am really proud of it.
Yay, I'm so glad to hear. And I love that as well. You couldn't not do a book about French food and not go to France. Like
I know.
it feels there's something that when I was reading it, it felt very Nora Ephron. There was something
Yeah.
Nora Ephron about it when Harry met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle. It's the sort of love that feels very lived in, which I absolutely love, and I find it such an interesting book because, again, it is a like romance comedy, and there is this dynamic of the love developing for the majority of the story online. I'll keep that the second half light for spoiler reasons, obviously. But you've got the cooking and the gustatory heights that is delivered with all of that, but there's also a clock.
Yeah.
The clock
Yeah.
that Max has a brain tumor, and I get a sense that there was something you wanted to address a little bit more with this book. There is romance and comedy, but there is that kind of clock as well in the background.
Yeah, totally. I think and firstly, like the Nora Ephron compliment is obviously just, everything that I strive for. I love Nora Ephron. I think there's multiple references in the book. Yeah, and I love Heartburn, which also is a book that's filled with a lot of recipes. And I think subconsciously kind of that made its way into the plot. But I think it was really important for me when I'm watching or reading romance, rom-coms specifically, that I love the whimsical, sparkly, fun element, but just as much I love the honest, real, pragmatic protagonist. So I think that is definitely, what I was trying to achieve in this book. So yeah, Max, I guess, facing her brain surgery is something that I have lived experience with. So I was keen to, I guess, draw on my experience, which was basically, facing something that was scary and the things that, as cliche as it sounds, the things that are important in life, being drawn into sharp focus and thinking about the things that you actually want out of life. And then a step further for that is making sure that you really feel that you deserve those things as well. So this story, the serious themes are kind of, the self-worth and self-discovery and giving yourself permission to strive and to sparkle. So I think the serious themes really lend themselves well to the sparkly element because Max deserves the magical life. She deserves Paris, she deserves all the color. So that's what I was hoping to bring in with this story.
And she deserves Johnny. Just
And she deserves Johnny. Yeah.
so, character question: Max and Johnny. Oh my god. Okay, such an interesting dynamic. Because also, again, especially for the majority of the book, they actually don't meet. It's all communicated online. How did these characters come into your life? And for the love of God, just tell me about Johnny, because
I think I like the idea of the anonymous Tinder pen pal. I know Tinder is like famous for, lots of other things and maybe not so much that magical meeting. But I think there's something in that anonymous connection where you reveal parts of yourself because it feels safe. So I really wanted to explore that. And then I guess the not meeting thing is just that build up of tension.
yeah,
I'm not going to give away spoilers if they do meet, but I again love You've Got Mail. So I think I was drawing on a little bit of that and all those near misses, which is why I also love the whole cookbook drop thing. Of course, it would have been easier for them to simply meet up, but there wouldn't have been much fun in that. And Johnny, I think he's mysterious and dark, and you can tell there's some depth there, and he's charming Max with his witty one-liners. So yeah, he's basically the perfect antidote for what she needs at that time, providing reassurance, but also the what if in life that I think that she had been missing.
yeah, absolutely. And the fact that I actually think that anonymity adds to I guess the romantic element of it because you don't know everything about that person, and for some weird reason, that makes it sexier. Um,
Totally. You
um,
start filling in the blanks, and then it's delightful when the blanks that you filled in actually seem to be accurate. So it's
yeah,
exciting.
it is. I also in this kind of quick character deep dive, I want to shout out Alice just as her bestie. And also this piece of trash that you have come up with in her ex.
Yes. So
Oh,
yeah.
I just that scene with with the letter from his mum. Oh my
Oh
god!
yeah.
Just like, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I think the ex, Scott Laurent, is a product of, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So I definitely wanted to lean into, yeah, that. But also, some early readers have said there's a scene where Max and Scott are in a hotel room, and he comes out with having used both towels, and everyone knows that Fury. So I was keen to use a lot of those small observational character details as well, just to paint a picture of who this man is. And Alice, is more than just a sidekick. I mean, she takes Max in at the hardest time in her life. And she also has, I think, a strong subplot and a love subplot. And yeah, she's kind of the sidekick that you want, I think, when you are going through something like Max is going through. But I had so much fun writing both of those characters and the whole Laurent family. The cookbook idea actually had come from something that happened like a decade ago when I was living with a flatmate. And for some reason, when she was unpacking her boxes, she found her sister's ex-boyfriend's family recipe book in the boxes. And we cooked a couple of the recipes just for fun. And there was something about it that just felt so naughty and so like someone's secret, like herbs and spices, that had made their way into our hands, and we had no idea of the history. So yeah, it also felt really naughty, and kind of like a little, you know, stick it to the Laurent family, the whole exercise. So I had a lot of fun writing it.
Yeah, I can see it. It comes off the page a lot. And again, I want to talk about the actual interactions as well between Max and Johnny online and the whole fork him exercise cooking from this book. I just adore this, and I really, especially when we kind of head into that second half of the book, which we are not allowed to talk about, but just read it, everyone. But I could tell, particularly those online back and forths, you enjoyed writing that. You
Yeah.
really that was the word I described it was just pardon the pun. It was just delicious. Just seeing
Yeah.
the flirty nature, the dynamic back and forth, but also like an actual deeper connection rise between these two fascinating characters in Max and Johnny. And I kind of it also leaned into there's a lot of pieces of of media out there around the online love experience. And you often get those people who will come up and say, "Oh, but the online love experience doesn't compare to the in-person experience." And I felt like this was almost a real interesting counterpoint to that. What do you say to that, considering where this book goes?
Yeah, totally. I mean, like to start with, unfortunately, I've spent a lot of time on those apps. And so I think I've gotten really quite good at banter. And I thought, why just leave it for these undeserving people on the other end? Like, I mean, this has to make it in its way into the book. And I think I wanted to develop a character on the other end, serving back, the banter that I guess, yeah, I mean, I would love to receive back. I think, yeah, as I kind of said earlier, you can strip back a lot of the I guess the history, and someone doesn't know who you are, and so some real genuine connections can be formed, I think, online. And the meetup part is whether or not that person who essentially is 2D in your phone, and you've made 3D, is that 3D version. So basically, is is the movie as good as the book? And then I think, yeah, like you've gotten to know the mind. So yeah, I think it's a really exciting way to meet someone. And honestly, it's the way that people meet people these days. So in that way, I think, there's the whimsy and sparkly part, which I kind of mentioned, but that's the practical stuff. That's how people are meeting each other in 2023. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's important to accurately portray that on the page.
I want to ask you a little bit about your journey to publication. You mentioned that you did a course at the Australian Writers Centre and you got hooked.
Yeah.
What happened from there? How did we go from that to this book that is now about to be in the hands of readers?
Like lots of people, it was not a linear story, path to publication. But I think from that course, I kept writing, and I definitely pitched that novel in a couple of places, including the ASA, the Australian Society of Authors pitch event, and also RWA, which is the Romance Writers of Australia. They've got some pitch events. And that first book that I wrote actually did get picked up in digital version eventually. That is the book that I submitted to open submissions. So I'm published through Macmillan, and they have a manuscript Monday, once a month, I think. And that's fondly known in the industry as the slush pile. And everyone says that you don't ever get picked up off the slush pile. Well, I did. So the book that I submitted, yeah, it was through Manuscript Monday, and I submitted, I think in the December, and got an email from a publisher in the February wanting to know more. I had just signed that book to a digital publication. But luckily, because I had just kept writing, I had other things. So I went back to them and said, hey, I've actually just signed that for a digital publication, but I have another manuscript and a half if you would be interested. And one of those manuscripts was Duck. And so I guess my message or lesson that I now say annoyingly, like the soapbox person, is just to keep writing, because, that opportunity might not have happened if I hadn't just kept at it. The submission process is long. There's a lot of waiting. There's a lot of unknown, but what you can control is writing. So I ended up, having, I guess, 2.5 manuscripts ready to go. Of course, they needed editing with the professional in-house team. But yeah, it wasn't the initial manuscript that I had submitted to Pam Macmillan. It was this other new one. So yeah, that was kind of what happened. And then it was quite fast. I think that was the email in February, and then it went to acquisitions and signed in the April, I think. So it was a pretty quick process. So I keep saying now, when you're on, you're on. So to have all your ducks in a row, excuse the puns, it's a combination of luck and having done the work. I do like that story because it's slush pile, and I think you never know if you don't put yourself out there.
Yeah, straight from the slush pile.
Yeah, slush pile baby.
Slush pile baby, and I think so many people would connect with that on so many levels. And I love that your piece of advice, because you answered my next question.
Oh, sorry.
No, I like it. Just keep writing, because so many people talk about writing and talk, but like you actually have to do it. The discipline of sitting down and writing it. And on a personal level, like God, I vibe so hard with that, because then I'm like, oh, why doesn't this book come together the way it has? Oh yeah, I actually haven't had the chance to sit down and fully flesh it out properly with the writing and the ways to go about it. On that topic, you mentioned, you had to go through a whole editing process as well. What was kind of that experience like? Because I know it's very easy to say kill your darlings, but there's a lot of people who get very attached to this script this transcript that they work with. Was that the case for you, or was it actually? I found it quite liberating.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved it. Like I mean, it's every writer's dream to have professionals look at their work. Like I still just feel so honored that experts took the time to feedback constructive edits that made the book stronger. And I think going to writing courses and being in critique groups, you get better at that and identifying kind of what resonates with you and what doesn't. And, this writing journey is quite solo for the majority of the time. And I actually am someone that really, I think, am quite collaborative. So I've always kind of loved the idea of being in a writer's room, or, that's a completely different industry and a creative pursuit. But I just love the collaborative nature of it. And it's not like a hard and fast, what we say goes. It's a discussion. And so it was actually a joy. And it was quite fast as well. My editing, it was all quite fast, which was good because I was still really engaged with the text. I think often, you might, it could be better or worse to be attached to things or not. But for me, I was kind of happy to make any changes that would make the text stronger based off the expert advice. Like they're the best in the business, so they know what they're doing. So yeah, I love the whole process.
Yeah, I think they're very much they're your first reader effectively. That's kind of who they are, and they notice and pick up on things that you might not
Yeah.
because you've been in that instrument space for so long. I
Yeah.
like.
And to acquire your book, they get what you're doing and they believe in you. So I think that's different from, receiving feedback from someone that's not quite getting what you're trying to achieve with your writing. So just even from that, just the merit of that acknowledgement, yeah, made it a lot easier to kind of make changes in line with, it's a commercial novel. So commercially, what are the expectations? And also with romance, it's a whole genre where readers come with expectations. So you want to make sure that while being authentic as possible to what you want to deliver, it also doesn't disappoint in terms of that happy ending and everything that romance readers expect.
What's next for you? Will we see another book? You mentioned there is more than one manuscript. Will there be another one?
Yeah. So I actually have another book coming out in December with Pam Macmillan. So yes. So I think because I basically had both of them almost ready when they acquired. So the good thing is I'm not stuck in that, oh gosh, like how do I back this one up? Which I know the second book can often feel that way. So it's an interesting time right now because I'm getting real great feedback from Dark and at the same time editing the December book. So I'm obviously super excited. So it's a very busy year. And again, I just want to say to aspiring writers, a couple of years ago, I was sitting there with kind of no action. And then this just feels like the most action packed year and kind of everything coming together and all that hard work happening. So, yeah, it's an exciting time for me.
We're now at the rapid fire question part of
Oh,
this
okay.
date
Yeah.
podcast. So I'm now going to hit you with a whole bunch of fun books, questions, anything else. No pressure at all. What is your favorite book that you've read in the last 12 months?
Oh, 12 months. I love Five Bush Weddings, which is Claire Fletcher's rom-com. Again, I love it because it's sparkly, but it's real. It's, yeah, got a lot of Australian observations.
What would be the recipe you would pick from the Lawrence family cookbook?
Oh, I think the souffle probably. And I actually had a souffle last night, the chocolate souffle. I won't give it away, but yeah, I like the name of that one. And it's rich and decadent, and everyone loves dessert.
Yes, absolutely. Amen to that. Do you have a favorite word?
Oh gosh, I straight away went to my least favorite words, which I'm not going to say. I think everybody knows them. In line maybe with the souffle and how you'd want that to come out. Oh, I don't know, that's hard. I've never thought of that. I think I say whimsical a lot. So I think leaning into that, yeah, anything that's otherworldly, any words around that. I love that in terms of dreamy state. So I'm gonna go whimsical.
What is your favorite place? Where is your favorite place to read, rather? In bed, on the couch, or out the back, in the shade on a sunny afternoon?
I'm definitely a bedtime reader. And I'm someone as well that has like a stack of at least three books. So I'm one of those people that is a mood reader. So I can context switch. So I can be halfway through one book and decide that tonight, I need more of a wind down. So like probably leave the crime and pick up something that's going to like lull me to sleep. So yeah, I do most of my reading in bed.
Mm, okay, I like it. Uh, what is your favorite debut book that you've ever read?
Oh gosh. And now like, yeah, Claire Fletcher's was a debut, but I would say Genevieve Novak, um, her book No Hard Feelings, which came
Uh,
out last year, which is amazing. And she's got a book out, Crushing. Actually, we're going to be shelf buddies. I think it's out beginning of April as well. So that's really exciting. It's like a millennial coming of age story, very much similar to Dolly Alderton's work, who I love. And then harking back a few years, my favorite ever debut and my fangirl kind of moment is Jessica Detman's How to Be Second Best. I just love how she combines that wry voice with comedy and yeah, again, real people. So yeah, that was my favorite debut from a few years ago, and now she's auto buy, and all of those authors are auto buy for me. Once you get me once, I'm like, yep, love you.
I love Genevieve Novak. I didn't read No Hard Feelings, but I got the chance to talk to her a couple of times, promoting that book, and also that cover is gorgeous. Like the cover of that.
Yeah. And Crushing as well. Like, I got an early copy of that. But yeah, the cover of that's amazing. And I will say as well, the Australian writing community is so supportive. Obviously Genevieve, she's got her second book out, so she was able to just being so helpful and lovely to me. And so has many writers, just letting me know what to expect and things like that. The writing community in Australia is just so nice, so supportive. I see the same faces at book launches. There's a huge Instagram community, so sliding into DMs. Yeah, it's kind of what it seems from the outside. Now I'm inside. I'm like, oh wow, these people are that nice. This is amazing.
Yeah, I love hanging out with authors. Authors are the best people to hang out with because
Yeah,
they're also like they're not they're often they can hide behind their books. Like you're not like a musician or an actor whose face is front and center. You can disappear.
totally. Yeah, yeah, that's a good and you do hibernate for the majority of the year, right? So it's like when you're writing, you're hibernating. So that connection point, I think, is really important for inspiration as well. And you're instantly connected because it's like-minded people that I guess are the same crazy as you. They understand, what it takes, kind of the mind.
I love it. Absolutely. Last question. So you mentioned in your author bio that you like guzzling espresso martinis in the name of research. Please elaborate.
So I'm quite an observational, curious kind of like so many writers. So I do get a lot of inspo from observing people, and I think a bar setting is the best because we do have a lot of dates going on. We've got lots of groups of friends. So yeah, I mean, often I am with people, but I also enjoy heading to a bar with a book or my computer. Yeah, and having a drink and just having a little watch and eavesdrop. So yeah, just always be mindful if you see me out and about. I have to say though, I've changed from the espresso martini. I don't think it's good to guzzle those at night. So I'm more of the dirty martini olive gal now. And they're strong, so you've got to be careful.
I now know that, like, say if you're out at an event and I run into you and you've got a dirty martini, I'll know that you're working Friday.
Yeah, it's the new like rose on the lapel. It's like careful.
Careful, I know what you're up to. You're watching, hunting for ideas. I could honestly chat to you all day, but I'm aware that you are incredibly busy and you have got a whole lot of events to get to and launches to do. So I'll simply finish by saying, Karina, thank you so much. It's been really great having you on the show.
Thank you so much, Nick.
So for everyone listening, Duck and L'Orange for breakfast will be out at the time of recording, published by Macmillan. And if you like the show, drop Words and Nerds a review. Let us know what you think and who you would like to hear from next.